Hey everyone, I'm Raj. I'm an engineering manager on the Spectacles team at Snap, and I'm here to talk to you about Snap Cloud. When lenses were first launched years ago, they were really centered around the Snapchat app. They were about these fun face lenses, these little bite-sized experiences. When we launched Spectacles, we wanted to do more than that with the device. So we started adding piece by piece more and more functionality that enables Spectacles lenses to behave more like pure applications. We first started with things like Fetch and WebSocket APIs that allowed Spectacles lenses to access the open web. We're taking this a step further by giving every lens its own backend powered by Supabase. Supabase is a massively popular open source backend as a service platform. Their motto is build in a weekend, scale to millions. What they offer are really four unique things. One is a full database access. They offer a Postgres database to every one of your lenses. They offer storage, blob storage, think something like S3, where you can post binary files, text files, and download them into your lens. They offer edge functions, and they offer real-time functionality that lets you set up real-time connections between different clients or real-time connections between one of your Spectacles devices and any other third-party service. For example, you can use edge functions to communicate with, say, like a back-end point-of-sale system at a restaurant. You can use databases to sync data between clients to keep a scoreboard, or to, if you're, let's say you're creating some kind of AR home type of application, you can store what the different devices are around your house in this database. Blob storage is another huge feature. You can imagine all kinds of things you could do with that. And finally, real time, you can synchronize clients. You can do back-end game logic, all kinds of things with these features. What I'm here to do is show you an intro to how this all works in Lens Studio. In order to connect your project with Supabase, you have to do a couple things. First, you go to your asset library and search for Supabase, and you have to add the Supabase plugin and the Supabase client. So first, you want to open up the Supabase plugin by going to Window. You'll see that here. You log in. You'll see your existing organization, which will be created for you if you don't have one, and allow you to create a new project, or it'll allow you to look at your existing projects. One interesting thing here is the dashboard button. When you do this, it opens the Supabase dashboard. And then you click on your organization, and it shows you your projects and lets you just inspect, first of all the real-time statistics. You see how many requests are made in your database, how many authentication requests. On the left-hand side, you can see a number of useful things, like a table editor that lets you create new tables or modify the data in your tables or inspect the data. You see categories for storage, where you can create new storage buckets. Think just like S3 buckets. You create these things where you can see what data has been stored in them and access that data. Edge functions, where you can create new functions, code them, look at their statistics and logs. In real time, where similarly you can watch what's happening on your Supabase project's real-time channels. Another really useful thing you'll find is the Help button here. Click on that and go to Docs, where you can find comprehensive documentation on everything related to Supabase and its integration with Lens Studio. So I'm back in Lens Studio. Let's just use this Edge test project that I'm using. And what you do is you click on Import Credentials, and what that does is it creates a little project asset here for you. This project asset contains the credentials you need to access the backend associated with that project. And I'll show you how to use that in a second. So I'm going to write a simple project that invokes an edge function. To do that, I have this little main script, which you can see here. And I set as input, I say, first of all, import this create client from the Supabase.js package. That was the second thing you downloaded from the asset library. And I said it's an input Supabase project. This is a thing that was created when you did import credentials. So I will go to my main script here. You drag over your Supabase project into this slot, and that way, right off the bat, your script is connected to the backend. So that's all you needed to do. Create the project, import credentials, drag it into your script. And now you're connected to your Supabase backend. Here I have my setup script. I added a screen text just so we can see some things on the screen as I'm working. And the first thing you want to do when your lens awakes is you want to initialize Supabase. So to do that, you call that create client function that we imported above, and you pass in the Supabase project's URL and public token. So this is just boilerplate. Here I'm adding a screen text to say when the client is ready. You can see it's ready. You can call sign in user. Sign in user is really nice because it lets you authenticate the current Spectacles user with your Supabase backend. So this is really important because it takes away all the pain of authenticating users. When you use this function, if a user signs into just opens up your lens, they'll automatically be authenticated in Supabase, and you can access data based on that user straight away. And Supabase also offers things like row-level security, so you can store data based on that user that's secure at the database level. Here's how you do that. You just call sign in with ID token, pass in Snapchat, and for token here, you can pass in anything. Once that's done, the user will be signed in. And you can see here I'm printing out the user's UID. I'm not doing anything with it here, but it's there for you if you need it. All right, so then how do we call an edge function once we've signed in? I have a little test method here called test edge function hello, but before we do that, we need to create the edge function. I go back to my dashboard, which I can find here, and go to edge functions. And you could just go to deploy a new edge function, do by editor, and then you could type in the code for your edge function using the Dino framework. So if you're not familiar with Dino, it's an environment for writing JavaScript and TypeScript functions that run outside of a web browser. I'll show you a simple function I wrote called hello world. Here it is. You basically import the runtime. You call Dino serve. And what I'm doing here is from the request, I'm getting the name of the user that called the function. Name is just a parameter I've made up here. And the output of my function is going to be hello name. So the lens is going to pass a name, edge function is going to return hello name, and then print it out. And here you can see how we return the response. It stringifies the data and attaches these headers. That's it. So from here on the client side, I'm just printing out, okay, I'm going to run this hello world test. I'm sending in the name Supabase. And so then it's going to log out at the end whatever the edge function decided to return back. So let's run that. I'm going to call test edge function hello. And then let's save it and see if it goes. It went there and it says hello Supabase. So the edge function returned the name that I passed it. Let's try a more complex example. I mean, not that much more complex, but I'm going to add two numbers together. So this one is the function sum. You look at the code for this, also really simple. Dino serve, I pass two numbers into the edge function. It adds them up, returns the result, stringifies the data just like that. I go to my client. This is what it looks like here. I'm passing two numbers, 1 and 3, and then I'm going to log out the result of calling that edge function. So let me go back up here to call that instead. It's called test edge function add. And we're running. And it says adding a number, sum 4, which is 1 plus 3. So that'll work pretty well. This is super basic examples, but if you want more advanced examples, of course, check out the documentation. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how to use the database functionality in Supabase. So Supabase offers this Postgres database, which is an extremely powerful SQL database so that you can do anything you need with the database, add, remove, update, select, queries, etc. I'm going to show you how to add something to the database just to get you started. So to do that, just like with edge functions, the first thing you do is you go to your dashboard. This time, though, you go to the table editor, and you want to create a new table by hitting the plus sign here. And clicking create table, you can type in your table name. I'll call it test. And then you can just add different columns. So it starts with the primary key and a created at column. And you can create any other column. I'll call it message. Lots of different types you can store, etc. And I'm going to show you a table I already created, which is very basic. I'll show you what's in it here. It just has a message field that's a text, and I'm going to insert something into this table, and then we're going to look at it to see if it got inserted correctly. So in order to insert something into this table, what you do is you call that same client object, you call from the name of your table dot insert, and then the message you want to insert into the table. This is basically any structured object. You can add all the fields in the database here. In this case, I'm just adding the message hello Supabase DB and attaching the current date. So once I have this, once I run this, it actually does an insertion, and it returns either an error if something failed, or it returns I ended this with a select so that it returns what was just added. So it'll return actually the ID of the row that was added. So let's try this out. I will go to the top here and run test insert and save it. And it says success, ID 6. So let's see. What's nice is I can then just look at the table on my dashboard, and I can see that a new row has been added with ID 6, and its message is hello Supabase DB with the current date. So that's how you insert things in a database. And to do more advanced things, check out the copious documentation on this on the website. All right, so that concludes our tutorial, and we really hope you found this helpful and are looking forward to seeing what you build with SnapCloud and Supabase. Thank you.